cooks in the kitchen.
Hello and welcome to the November and December holiday shows for So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. We are a group of Physicians Committee Food for Life instructors. We teach healthy, whole food, plant-based, vegan nutrition and cooking. We've been in the kitchen sharing recipes with you for more than 3.5 years. We decided for November and December, many of us, you and us, are limited on time and you want to get some neat ideas for recipes. So rather than doing a full-blown show, we're actually we're using some of our past recordings from past shows and reprising them. So this is recorded. I recorded this shortly before our first show. And all the other shows you're going to see have been excerpted from our past shows. So while we aren't going to be cooking live in November and December, the good news is we have more shows, short shows, 5 different shows in November and December. We'll be back live for our next show in January. But while we're not live, we are behind the scenes watching your questions come in. So please ask questions and we will respond on social media. Enjoy.
This was kind of a game changer for me. Okay, this is a sliced turkey breast that I have actually fooled people with when I've let them taste it. I have vegan friends who've tasted it and were a little hesitant to try it because it looks like turkey, has a mouthfeel of turkey. It's a little scary, honestly. So I'm again using this super firm tofu. It's not going to come out quite the same if you try and make it with any other type of tofu. So this high protein, super firm, high protein, and they're not kidding. It's got 14 grams in a serving compared to about 8 or 9 in extra firm. So it's a lot more protein, which we all know we get plenty of protein on a plant-based diet. Yes, we do. So I am a fitness instructor. Believe me, I know I get plenty of protein. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just take this super firm, I'm not even draining it or pressing it out, and then crumbling it into a food processor. And then I'm just going to whirl it up a little bit. Okay, so it's just crumbly. It's just little crumbs. And then when I'm adding to it, and it might seem like a lot of ingredients, but it's really not. Get this out of the way. And then we're going to slide this over. Okay, so the first ingredient besides that block of super firm tofu is vital wheat gluten. This is not a recipe for someone with celiac disease. Okay, so about 1% of people in the United States actually have celiac disease. Another 1% or so have some gluten intolerance, but that leaves about 98% of us who can eat gluten without any side effects. And when you switch to a gluten-free diet, even if you don't need to, you're actually removing whole grains from your diet. So we're taking the gluten, which is actually a kind of protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. And we're going to add just a cup of that. Okay, food processor looks really full when you do this. And then a half a cup of water. We're going to start with a half a cup of water, but if you find that you need more when you're whirling it up, it seems too dry, you could add a few tablespoons more. And then 1 tablespoon of tamari or liquid aminos. You could use coconut aminos, you could use regular liquid aminos, low sodium soy sauce, that's fine. We're adding that. We're adding a little bit of liquid smoke. You could also use smoked paprika if you can't find liquid smoke. It's just a teaspoon, it's not much. Okay, and then we're adding a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, which we've already talked about nutritional yeast today, but you used to be able to find it in the bin at Whole Foods. They're not doing the bulk thing so much, but you know, this is a pretty typical brand, Bragg's. You can find in most grocery stores. And then we are adding our spices. So we have tapioca starch or cornstarch, whichever one. Tapioca flour is also known as tapioca starch, same thing. So we're adding just a tablespoon of that. Sorry, 2 tablespoons of that. And then we're adding some onion powder, garlic powder, and poultry seasoning. Let's see. Okay, and then the controversial ingredient would be 2 tablespoons of a neutral flavored oil. You could also use aquafaba. You could also use water. Okay, so either one of those is fine. So we're just adding a few tablespoons of that. And then the poultry seasoning, I find very interesting. Poultry seasoning is just a seasoning. There is no poultry in the seasoning. Okay, so it's just usually thyme, sage, rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. But you could make your own, but it's pretty simple to find in any grocery store. So, and then we have 1 tablespoon of one of my favorite products that is kind of hard to find, but better than bouillon, no chicken flavor. It is the vegetarian or vegan flavor of vegetable paste or vegetable broth paste. So if you can't find it, I found this on Amazon, honestly, and we use enough of it that I just ordered a pack of 6 of them. But it is better than bouillon. If you can't find this, you could use regular vegetable broth paste, and that's fine. I have my handy dandy little scraper here. I'm going to get it out of that. It's just 1 tablespoon of the vegetable broth paste. Okay. And so we have all the ingredients in here, and we're going to just let this whirl around for a little bit. You don't even need to scrape it down, because what's going to happen is the blades of the food processor are going to take all those ingredients and start running them around and kneading them for you. And that is perfect. So then we take it out, and you're going to form it into a loaf shape, which is super easy to do. So, because it's already really trying to stick together without any problem. Get all of that out of here. And then it's kind of like Play-Doh. It's a big mass of Play-Doh. Okay, and then you're going to take an aluminum foil sheet. Okay, so I'm just forming that into sort of a turkey breast type shape. And then you're going to take a sheet of aluminum foil, cover it with whatever seasoning you like. You do want to spray some oil spray on it just to keep it from sticking, because I have tried it without it. It really does stick to the sheet. So you just need to lightly spray it, cover it with your favorite seasoning. It could be poultry seasoning. It could be hickory seasoning. I have already made a loaf to show you, and it is very, you're going to see it for the first time just like I do here. Okay, so I made a Cajun flavored one. I added a bunch of Cajun seasoning to it. And what we're going to do is take a mandolin, and I mean, it's just kind of freaky because it smells like turkey. It is so strange how well this works. But we're going to take it and just run it on the mandolin a few times to give it that sort of deli shaved turkey kind of look and feel to it. You can change the flavor profile of this very easily. Just add Cajun seasoning instead of all the other flavors we just put in, or add Cajun seasoning on top of the other flavors. But even when you cut it open, it looks like a turkey breast. And then we have, so I can put it in a bowl where you can see it against the background here. Okay, so it looks like sliced turkey. It actually has the mouthfeel of sliced turkey. I wish you could smell it. Smell-o-vision, like we keep mentioning, is not a thing yet, but it looks like turkey. It tastes like turkey. So if you're someone who wants to eat plant-based, but you miss that flavor or wonder, what can I put in a sandwich? Well, you can have a turkey sandwich. So I hope you'll give it a try. It's super easy, really just blending it all together and sticking it in the oven. So it's going to go in the oven for 30 minutes, wrapped up tightly in aluminum foil, then unwrap it for 30 more minutes, and then let it sit out. The most important part, though, is then once it's cooled, you're going to wrap it up in aluminum foil and put it in the refrigerator overnight. So don't try to eat it right away out of the oven because it's just a little too soft. So put it in your refrigerator overnight, and the next day, this has been in my refrigerator overnight, and it's perfect. and smells amazing. So, and I know my husband's standing here right off out of view, waiting to try it. So I'm gonna let him try it. But this is the Cajun one. The one I made today was regular. Just add any seasonings you want to change the flavor of it. You could add some barbecue flavoring to it. That would be interesting.
I am really excited just to share a real classic, one of my favorite Thanksgiving dishes from when I was a kid, although way back then it was usually made with Campbell's creamy soup and frozen green beans or canned green beans, which are still great to use. But this recipe today is going to be fresh from really whole foods. I do have, for ease sake, I do have some mushroom broth, and there are some other good products that I'm going to share with you too to make this classic vegan. So what I've done is sauteed the shallots, the garlic, and the mushrooms using a water saute method that Dilip had described before. And the reason for using that method is because you can then make this recipe without any additional oil, which is actually a great way to cook, a bit healthier, heart healthy. So that's a great way to cook. The next step, so far I have sauteed the shallots, the garlic, and the mushrooms. And the next step is to make this a thick, creamy consistency for the casserole dish. So the first thing we're gonna do is just really slowly, we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of flour, and I've chosen to use gluten-free flour, and I'm just using general gluten-free 1-to-1 ratio of flour, and we're just going to sprinkle it over the vegetables and stir it in slowly as it's on a low to medium heat. And you want to just do each tablespoon at a time, and you'll see that it'll just sort of start to melt right into the mushroom and onion mixture. And then you'll add the next tablespoon. So another way to do this would be a traditional roux, and that is some type of oil, usually butter, that's mixed with flour. But in this case, I didn't really want to use any additional oil, so we're just going to use the juices from the onions and the mushrooms and just sort of blend that all down. And as each one is mixed in, we're going to add a little bit more flour until we have 3 tablespoons of flour. And if this gets a little dry, like this is starting to do here, you can always add a smidgen of water and then just continue to stir. And once that melts right down, and it does happen really quickly, you just want to be sure that you don't have lumps of flour left. And you can see that that is sort of thick. And then we're going to go ahead and add our vegetable broth. The other thing that you can do, if you didn't want to use a broth and you rather use something that's already creamy, is this product here by Imagine Foods. It's actually a creamy portobello mushroom soup, and so it has that rich portobello flavor, which I chose to use today as well in my mushrooms, but it does not contain any dairy products in it. And it does have some oil. So again, if you are trying to be low oil, then maybe this isn't your best choice, but it is a really easy option. And so we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that up a little bit, and you can see that that's all mixed in. And it does look a little thicker. You can see the soup portion of it starting to form. And then we're going to go ahead and slowly add in our non-dairy milk. And in this case, I've chosen flax milk. I really like unsweetened flax milk because it doesn't really have a sweet flavor, and it just is really smooth and easy to cook with, easy to bake with. I like the advantage of using flax with really healthy omegas. We'll go ahead and add the rest. And you can see that this has created a really creamy casserole consistency. And I'm just going to let that cook up a minute and it'll begin to thicken. The wonderful thing about this dish is that green beans are really healthy, low in calories, decent amount of protein, and a lot of fiber. So they are a great vegetable. Mushrooms are also another great vegetable, one of the G bombs. So it's a great thing to eat mushrooms every day. They have a lot of antioxidants and cancer fighting properties. So they're definitely very healthy for you. And you can see this starts to thicken really quickly. And then we're going to go ahead and add the green beans. These have been cleaned and trimmed. I did not blanch them. That's another thing that you can do. If you wanted to have this cook a little bit faster, you can go ahead and blanch your green beans, just a couple minutes in boiling water, take them out, strain them, and cool them down right away with some cold water. And that's another way to just to make this cook a little bit faster. Personally, I just like to do as much as I can in one pan. It just makes cooking a little bit easier and the cleanup so much better. And the other thing we're going to do now is if you wanted to add salt and pepper, now would also be the time. Personally, this is really enough salt for me. The mushroom broth that I use does have a bit of sodium, not horrible. It has, for 1 cup, is 440 milligrams. So I don't necessarily think that this really requires much more salt than that. The crispy onions that I'm using also have a bit of sodium in it. So again, I don't like to add any more salt. I do like to add a bit of pepper to the recipe. And the best part about this is that it's really a classic Thanksgiving dish, a real like American Thanksgiving dish. And so I truly enjoy that about it. Totally reminds me of my childhood and eating the green bean casserole. Another way to do this dish is really to not use any cream at all, and it honestly comes out just as wonderful. So the next step is I'm going to go ahead and add some crispy onions, and this is really an unnecessary step that I actually didn't add to the instructions, but I do this sometimes where I'll add some of the crispy green beans right into the mixture. It makes it a little bit thicker. I have written here 2 cups of green beans. Again, if you are watching your sodium, watching your fat intake, this is something that's really easy to omit, and it really doesn't change the recipe that much. So I'm just going to add a few of these into the recipe, about a 1/2 cup, I would say. I'm going to turn this down, and you can see how it's getting really thick. And it's just a really great classic recipe. As a kid, I don't really think there was probably as many mushrooms in it. I didn't used to love to eat mushrooms. Now I love every kind of mushroom, and especially knowing how healthy they are for us, I really do try to eat them every day. And so just go ahead and saute that for a couple minutes. And then we will pour it into a casserole dish and pop it into the oven for about 20-25 minutes. And in the end, you have a beautiful mushroom casserole. I think they're always so pretty. The onions become so crispy on top. The green beans are delicious with the mushrooms inside. I personally just find this to be really satisfying, and it really makes for even a great main course. So as being vegan, we try to, see what kind of main course could we shift, our thought to, and this one being that it has fiber and protein and lots of mushrooms and green beans. This is really a great centerpiece.
So today I'm going to be making a maple chili glazed butternut squash with pecans and cranberries. The recipe is in the booklet, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through it. So I have 4 cups of cubed butternut squash that I roasted, and that's ready to go. And I use gochujang, but you don't have to use this if you don't want to. You can use a little bit of chili paste, and then also you can use red pepper flakes. You're just going to want to do half the amount that's in the recipe. And so I take the gochujang and I mix it in a bowl with the maple syrup and the cranberries and a little bit of salt. You don't have to use salt. It's optional, so that's up to you. And you're just gonna mix it until everything is well incorporated. And this is what it's gonna look like. Now, what we're gonna do is add our sweet potatoes, our butternut squash to it. You can use sweet potatoes. But this is just another way to use up that beautiful butternut squash. And you're just gonna toss it in there. Be careful because you don't want it to fall apart. Just gently toss, coat everything. And we're gonna put it in the oven at 350 for an additional 15 to 20 minutes. Or if you want to put it in your air fryer and air roast it at 350 for about 10 minutes. You want to keep an eye on it. Just every air fryer is different. And you want to put it on some parchment paper. So that's what I have here. And I'm just going to very lightly spray it. It's not necessary, but just to be on the safe side. So just, it's all this tiny, tiny, tiny little amount that you're going to put on there. Everything is nicely coated. And you're just going to put it on there. And kind of shake it a little bit until it's one nice layer. And again, your butternut squash does not have to be completely cooked. It can be part cooked. The one that I roasted was 4.5 pounds. I put it at air roast at 400 for about 15 minutes. And because this is going to bake for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, so it'll be completely baked by the time you're done. And just make sure to kind of evenly distribute the cranberries in there. And then you're just going to put it in the air fryer and then just let it do its thing. And then we've got the pecans. So what I did with the pecans, it's 1 cup of raw pecans. I put it in a non-stick pan and I toasted it on medium-high heat for about 5 to 7 minutes. You can kind of smell them when they start toasting. Do not walk away because they burn very quickly. To that, you're going, once they're toasted, you're going to turn it down to low heat. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of chili flakes and then you're going to add a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. You're going to mix it until the maple syrup is completely absorbed into the pecans and you'll see where they start getting glazed. Then you're going to put that onto a parchment sheet as well. I sprayed this just a little bit so they won't stick. And you're going to want to separate them once they start cooling off to make sure that you don't end up with a giant clump. These are also just good like that to snack on. They're delicious. You're going to want to serve these with your butternut squash right before your guests arrive. I don't suggest mixing them together because the pecans will get a little bit soggy. So just wait and then put it on there. So for the sake of time, I've already made some. And, excuse me, this is how I'm going to serve them. Just a little bite size, perfect little cube, has some cranberries, some edible flowers, and then there's a pecan, and there's your toothpick. You can also, if you don't want to use that, you can put on a little piece of toast, a tiny, I don't know what the true name of it is, but they're tiny little pieces of toast. And take those, put a little bit of cranberry sauce, put this on top just to kind of hold it together. Perfect little bite size.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen. kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.